Welcome, Rick Graham.
Thank you.
To Andertons TV.
Great to see you, man. Great to see you.
I'm so pleased on so many levels. Just as a fan of your stuff for, crikey, as long as YouTube's probably existed.
Yeah.
And also more recently, where we've got to hang out a couple of times, just as a fan of you, as a sort of a human being. So I'm pleased we've managed to arrange today.
Yeah, me too.
And obviously, you know, thanks to the lovely Charvel people, because that was almost the excuse we needed, wasn't it, to just push us over the edge here, which was just like, come on, we'll talk about your new guitar and all that kind of stuff.
But absolutely. But there's something, that's wonderful, but it's just great to be here.
Well, I'm pleased, and I think as well, what I love about these interviews is that I'm sure we'll be chatting for an hour, might even be more, and I'm sure the Charvel will get its 5 minutes, but the bulk of this is just going to be talking to you about, musical experiences and philosophies on music and life and general stuff like that. So I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting chat. And we've been talking for about an hour before we even switched the camera on. So I'm trying to remember to repeat all the best stories. Yeah. But so you are a child of the 70s.
I am.
Not a dissimilar age to me, which is wonderful because we can, we'll remember things happening in our childhoods around about the same times.
Yeah.
With maybe a more sort of dominant classical influence in the way you've come to your sort of, I hope you don't mind me not saying a sort of, you are a virtuoso guitar player, but perhaps with a sort of a classical influence there, which is a little perhaps different to a lot of other guitar players.
Yeah.
And then also as well, you've had an interesting journey of kind of, you were quite famous and then, sort of drifted away for a bit and then sort of, and again, I know I'm more than happy to talk about that part, and we don't have to just talk about guitars the whole time or whatever, whatever you feel might be an interesting story. But look, let's go back to the greatest decade ever and talk about the 80s. Which at the time, I think we all thought it was the worst decade ever, but with the benefit of hindsight, I do think was the best decade ever.
I think it was the absolute best. Being, straddling the 70s and going through the 80s as a kid was just phenomenal. And then when it got to the 90s, things changed a little bit, but, it is what it is. But I'm an 80s, fanatic. I just loved everything about the 80s. And, it's one of those things, it's like, you don't realise you're living in the golden years, until they've gone.
I remember being in the 80s and fashion just being just
mental.
But what I think I loved about the 80s, not necessarily morally the greatest sort of compass necessarily, but it was the last decade that you could do anything you wanted and not realise it was bad.
Yeah.
Whether it was like everything now is a guilt trip, isn't it? Whatever you do, it's bad. Whereas in the 80s, it was the last decade of just going, I have no idea that
absolutely.
Drinking, eating, I don't know.
Well, to think about mobile phones then, they were just like huge bricks, yuppies on the phones with these huge bricks. It's just like, they thought it was really cool, but now it just like looks like, oh God.
It was mad.
But it was just such a brilliant decade of change. Just amazing, for one, rock music, but development of everything, and there was a lot of stuff going on sort of politically as well that changed the landscape of everything. So there were, especially in the early 80s, I think 84, round about that time, there was a couple of films that came out that were just like warning people about, what may potentially happen if somebody presses the red button. And that really affected a lot of people, but it changed the way that people live their lives. So I think maybe that kind of helped people to sort of express themselves and just say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, So for me, it was the best decade ever. Although I'll give a shout out to the 70s, but I did miss 4 years of it. Yeah, well, 3.5 years.
I'm not sure that either. Just because we were born in the 70s, I have very few childhood memories of 70s beyond all of those sort of very innocent running around the park with my dad in his flared trousers type thing. The 80s is definitely where my more sort of lucid memories of what was happening. Yeah. But let's keep this sort of slightly guitar focused through this. So you'd have been 6 at the sort of the turn of the decade. So were you playing guitar by then?
No,
right.
No,
so
I started violin.
Okay,
that was the first instrument, and I started that when I was 7.
Okay.
So I started to play violin. I was selected out of a bunch. It was actually 3 kids from the school I was in, and that I'd be suitable to, creatively suitable to, to adapt to a musical instrument. And I was really, really, pleased and happy. So got the violin. They gave me a violin and everything, and just said, "Go practice, and we'll arrange lessons for you." So I practiced violin for a while. I ended up just sniffing the resin most of the time. This is amazing.
And that was how the 80s
it's called
started.
rosin, but I like to call it resin. Yeah, absolutely. But, I loved the violin, but it was not an easy instrument to play. Not easy. No. So I stuck with that for a while. But, I got into synths because my dad bought a Roland Juno 60, and I used to run home in the lunch break from school in the 80s. Would have been around about, what year would it have been? 86?
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were both at work, so
right.
I just run home, stick the headphones on, and just make sounds with this Roland Juno 60, and I loved it. So that has stayed with me for ages. Mm-hmm. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I've messed around with keys and learned piano and stuff, and then did drums. Then started playing guitar when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you, I'm sort of thinking perhaps with the Juno 60 story is perhaps a little insight into how your brain works.
Yeah.
If you get into something, do you obsess with it?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Everything that I do, I'm obsessed with.
Right.
So if I, and it doesn't just stop with guitar and
mm-hmm.
music, it's, I'm obsessed with everything. I write
mm-hmm.
stories, particularly short stories.
Mm-hmm.
I also draw, when I feel like it. It doesn't always work out that well, but this is the nature of learning. You just express yourself through whatever medium that you've got to express yourself with, and that's an important thing. So absolutely obsessive with everything that I do.
It's a trait I've noticed. People often say, are you born with a talent or is it a learnt talent?
Yeah.
And I'm not any kind of scientist or, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Psychotherapy, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not trained in that thing. But for me, I'm not a big believer that you're necessarily born with some predetermined ability to play a guitar better than the next person.
I agree with you.
I think what you're born with is an obsessive nature.
Yeah.
And the people with the obsessive nature just put more practice in than the people without. So therefore they then get better.
That is a very, very piquant observation.
Is it?
It is.
But
it's it's really important that people understand that, because a lot of people, they actually capitulate, they give up because they think they don't have enough talent.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of it is to do with something that some people are predisposed towards a certain thing, but it's not necessarily to do with natural ability at an instrument. It's actually born out of some kind of obsession. So am I making sense?
Yeah,
here?
no, you are. I'm also, so by the time you're 17 and playing the guitar, I kind of feel like your musical tastes are already mature is not the right word, but you'll have listened to some music and you'll have known what you liked and what you didn't like.
Yeah.
In a way that maybe at 10 years old, you haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
So can you remember back at 17 already having an idea of a player that you wanted to emulate, or a genre of music?
Yeah, absolutely. I played the Smiths.
Really?
Yeah, girlfriend in a coma, I know. You know, I played all of that. I love The Cure and everything, and I wanted to do that, just write songs.
I mean,
So-
from a what was massive at that time. I mean, that was my teenage. I had definitely a 12-month period at sort of 15 or 16-year-old where absolutely, you know, we all wanted to be Morrissey or Johnny Marr or any number of those kinds of indie bands.
Yeah.
I tell you, I could have guessed at 100 guitar players, and I wouldn't have picked the Smiths just from knowing. Like, as in, that has really surprised me. Who you've or the Cure or any of those.
Well, you'd be surprised about my history.
Yeah. So where did the? I mean, that's almost the definition of like anti-virtuoso guitar.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's my brother's fault because I was into the, you know. I was into the Smiths, The Cure, Depeche Mode.
Great band.
Oh man, I bought every album up until after Songs of Faith and Devotion. But Violator, when that came out, 1990, I love that. Flood produced that, brilliant. But also Alan Wilder, the guy that was really responsible for all of the great work behind that band. You know, they were all, you know, they all contributed. But anyway, without taking too much of a, you know, curveball there, I bought every single Depeche Mode album because I just love the music and the productions and the, you know, the sounds and everything. But something got me about the guitar. In actual fact, I started playing. My parents split up, and what happened was my mum went to move in a place, and my dad had just stored some of his stuff in her place, and I was living with my mum. And there was a guitar there one day, and I was just sat at the sofa. And do you know the song "The Beach" by Chris Rea?
Yes.
Lovely
little.
So I just sat there watching the TV, and I picked the guitar up and just played it, you know. And I was like, actually, I think this might work. But I just put the guitar down, and it was.
Well, a Spanish guitar or something, was it? Or
no, it was an electric.
Okay.
It was an electric Fender.
Nice start.
Absolutely. My dad was a huge Fender fan. So, well, he still is. He still is. But, you know, I did that, and I just put it down because I didn't, you know, it was before I started playing properly. Mm-hmm. Then when I went to Stratford College, because I wanted to be an actor. An actor.
An actor. You've got a touch of the Brian Blessed about you, do you know?
Is it the beard?
It probably is.
Touch of the Brian Blessed. I love Brian Blessed. He's
amazing. He's an icon.
He's phenomenal. But I wanted to be an actor, so I did a lot of, you know, acting. But ended up, that's where I picked the guitar up.
Right.
And I started to, for the first, I don't know how long it was, first year, maybe a bit less, but I played everything with my thumb. So everything. I learnt the crossroads arpeggios and played it with my thumb. And but my brother said to me, Rick, you can't do that. You know, how are you going to negotiate playing properly? You've got to use one of these. Because he was just constantly, you know, there pushing me. And I was like, oh, God, I'm going to have to do that. Then had an amp, turned the gain on. I was just like, oh, shit. This is not going to work. I'm going to have to work really hard at cleaning things up, you know, technically.
Were you aware, like, as guitar players, because you talk about playing with your thumb and all that kind of stuff, and one of the finest guitar players to ever walk the earth, Jeff Beck, is very much had an unusual technique like that, didn't he? And yet, it never seemed to hold him back or whatever like that.
No.
But so was there just another style of guitar or a different guitar player that either you or your brother were listening to, thinking, okay, it's all about economy picking and...
Oh, well, we used to watch, the REH videos. We used to watch... He actually bought... We had a few of them. I remember he bought a Chris Impellitteri video.
I don't know. I don't think I saw that one. I'm not even sure I know the name.
Well, it goes by too quickly because his playing is so fast. It's just, But at the end of it is a compilation of all of the, the amazing players like Keith Wyatt, Steve Trovato, Scott Henderson, Joe DiOrio, Paul Gilbert, all of those. And we used to... Sorry to say, Chris, we used to flip past that and go to the end and watch the compilation of all these amazing players and just be like, this is phenomenal. That's what we used to do every single day. Some
of those videos, I think it was a John Petrucci one, just got turned into a meme, didn't it? Of like, now I'm going to play it slowly for you. It's like,
exactly.
Just like, oh my life.
Exactly. The Malmsteen one as well, that was just hilarious when he plays.
The Paul Gilbert one is the only one I think that has stood the test of time. I think you can watch it. Is it called Insane Guitar?
It's terrifying. What is it? Intense.
He did two, didn't he? And those were the two that I really felt what Paul could do that the other guitar players couldn't do.
Totally agree
teach.
with you.
Like all the players could play, but Paul could teach. So you could actually watch that video and go, okay, as opposed to just watching people going mind-blowing, face-melting shred all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the intro of the first one, I think it's called Intense Rock.
That's it, yes.
And the intro where he's just, oh my God, even now, I'm just... it still has the same impact.
Did you ever do you remember the one he had the tassels on the underside of his
that's
guitar?
the second one.
Yeah, second one. He's got it's like a really early version of a green screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Tassels on his guitar neck. It's just it's just why brilliant. The 80s was so good. Actually, this might even be the 90s by now, but I think it was the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was it was on the cusp of the 90s, but it was, it was more 80s than 90s. But to me, I still go back to that, and I think that's what my brother was trying to do. Just to come back to your question, I think that's what my brother was trying to do, was trying to get the best out of me and just say, look, if you want to really be in control of what it is that you do technically, playing wise, you're gonna have to learn how to use one of these. So I listened to what he said, and he was actually quite brutal with me at times.
I'm sure we'll talk about your brother at some point in this, and he obviously was an unbelievable influence on you.
Yeah.
So was he an older brother?
No, younger.
A younger brother. That's unusual.
3 years
isn't it?
younger.
3 years younger.
Yeah.
But an accomplished musician before you were, or simultaneously? Or?
It was kind of like, at the same time. He started playing guitar before me, though, but he could play every single instrument, every instrument.
One of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just like, I can't believe it. Am I gonna, live up to this standard, And what we used to do, this is really important, is that, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently, is that right from the word go, when I first, after the, learning songs and stuff and trying to sing, and then my brother saying, look, you've got to work on your technique. What we did was we used to improvise together. So we'd record like a set of chords, or not record, we'd record ourselves playing. One of us would play the chords, then he would play a solo, then we'd swap over. And we used to do that every single day. So that's where my sort of love of improvising comes from. And I thought everybody did it, but that's kind of a lost art these days.
My mind is still slightly blown about the fact that you didn't start playing till you were 17, because you played me a clip of music that you recorded when you were 20.
Yeah.
And I'd like to just play it maybe at some point in this interview, because but before we get there,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember how good I was after 3 years of playing.
Yeah.
And I was probably, after 3 years of playing the guitar, I was probably feeling like I could be in a band and I could hold some chords down as the songs went through.
Yeah.
You're at like, you've gone hypersonic by the time you're 20.
Yeah,
which is just like, so I'm like, what was that 3 years?
Well, that's a really...
Could you do anything other than practice the guitar? Did you sleep?
No, I did. I did sleep, but I was lucky. This is so important that you asked this question, because my dad gave me a roof over my head. You know, at that point, you know, things were really tough. I couldn't afford anything. I didn't have any money. Mm-hmm. My dad was struggling for money, so financially it was really tough. But he gave me a roof above my head and said, you know, I think, you know, I want you to be the best musician that you can be. So he gave me that opportunity. So I spent every single day obsessively. And one of the reasons why is because I've always been very uncomfortable being around a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So social anxiety, I do struggle with at times. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm okay with it, other times not. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to go, no, right, I'll shut the door, concentrate on this and really express myself.
What was if you've already at that point known that you were, you know, uncomfortable in crowds or meeting people that you didn't know and all that kind of stuff, what did you think would happen to you then if you achieved a certain level of success on the guitar? Or was that not, because you know, in all fairness, it's like, if one of the things that scares the life out of you is performing in front of, you know,
I chose the wrong vocation.
I'm just interested in like what are you?
Well, I didn't.
That's just not even thinking about it.
No, that's a great question. Mm. That's a really good question. And I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking that there was a final result, that I would be on stage, become famous, become rich, become successful, all the rest of it. I wasn't even thinking about that. It was something that I could focus my mind off instead of, you know, neurological sort of insecurity that I had. I could concentrate that on being the best, you know, at this. But not for a specific outcome, only just so that I could take my mind off feeling, you know, insecure.
Well, we talked again before we started, we talked about this idea of I think some young people, when they start learning the guitar, perhaps any instrument, feel like it's a mountain to climb or a race to win. Yeah. As opposed to a picture to paint. Yeah. Or something. Yeah. Was that you? I mean, was everything at that point just how can I play that faster or more accurately or...
No, it wasn't. It's basically comes from the fact of the obsessive nature of, you know, right, my physiological disposition, I guess, you know, because I was just like, you know, if I didn't get something right, I'd go, right, put the guitar down. 30 seconds later, I'm not going to allow you to do this to me. Pick the guitar up, work on it. Even if I didn't get it right, I put it down. And then 30 seconds later, no. So I just had this obsessive, I still do. I'm, you know, very, very obsessive individual with everything that I do. And I think that's
I've got it. I don't know if now, play the, if you don't mind, we'll just hold it near the microphone and we'll just play this.
This is track? This is from 1994, right?
So Rick and I, the reason Rick played me this earlier on was we actually started talking about guitar effects units, and we were talking about Axe effects and some of the stuff that Rick's used more recently. And then we started going back to, do you remember the pod? Yeah, I did it. And then I went, do you remember the 9002 by Zoom?
Zoom, yeah.
And this is where Rick said, do you know, I think I've got something on my phone that, this is me playing the 9002. So this is why we were listening to this.
Well, just before we do that, you know, I mentioned before about Satriani recording the track Crying off, is it The Extremist, isn't it?
Right.
And he used that, but they kept it because the performance was so good.
So electric.
So it's
right.
just like, well, why destroy the performance when, you know, just because you think you're going to get a better tone and you're not. So
this is a digital transfer from an old tape machine. So there's a little bit of wobble on the tape machine that you can hear. But and if we just hold it up so that one of these mics can kind of get, but the playing is insane. But here we go. Lots of pip squeals.
there's a lot of squeals. I think I had a voice then, even back then. What I mean is, I don't sound that different, or it's just become more refined, you know?
There's a lot of pick squeals, aren't there? That's enough. I'm going to cut my fingers off anyway.
Do you want me to stop it?
Oh. I like that little bit.
Yeah, well, it turns into more of a rhythmic.
Right.
This. And there are some jazz chords in there. So funny.
So there's the next question, isn't it? Are products like the Axe Effects really that much better than the old Zoom 9002?
Well, to be honest, it's all in your fingers. That's the diplomatic answer. It's all in your fingers. Well, it's not quite all in your fingers. It's
we're sort of laughing.
A
great song is a great song, and an impressive guitar playing is impressive guitar playing regardless. Anyway, look, so that gets you to, you're at that level by the time you're 20.
Yeah.
We're still a decade or more away from YouTube being a thing, aren't we, at the moment?
Yeah,
so I guess any idea that you might have any way, a sort of outlet for your creativity in any kind of internet. I'm not even sure the internet probably was just about. So where is your headspace then at 20 now? You know, you're a really, really, really good guitar player. You must have known that you were not an average guitar player by that point. So are you thinking, right, there is a career here yet, or are you? What's
what I because I focused because I was concentrating on the technique stuff. What I did miss out on, is doing concentrating on playing simple stuff really, really well. Mm-hmm. But that takes maturity. It takes a level of understanding that takes time. So I concentrated on all of that stuff. I was really good at playing that technical stuff, but I still needed to work on playing, chords on the money, right on the beat, and controlling all of these things. So that kind of struck me because, when I did classical guitar, I learned so much. By doing that, and I had to go back to the start again almost.
Well, that's a great segue then, because of course we talked about the classical thing right at the top of the interview and before, and in my head, I'm sort of going, the normal journey is mum and dad give you Spanish guitar, you have classical guitar lessons, and then you go onto the electric guitar, but you stay with that classical sort of formation, if you're a foundation. So yours is not that journey then?
No.
So yours is electric guitar, shred first, then go do the classical thing?
Well, it's interesting because I remember distinctly when Torvill and Dean,
the Bolero.
The Bolero, I heard the Bolero and I was just like, I didn't didn't care about the ice skating. It was just like, what is this music? I couldn't
Another
believe it.
reason why the 80s was the best, because of
Torvill and Dean. So, classical music music's been there throughout my entire life, and I think that came from, to be honest, Genesis.
Right.
Which is an important
Yeah.
word. But it comes from the band and the fact that, my dad, sort of introduced us to it. But it wasn't just that, it was all the older stuff. Like, he loved Rory Gallagher and, all the older players. And but learning classical guitar was, even though I loved classical music before then, I got to a point where I was just playing this technical stuff and what happened was, it's a really interesting thing, my mate brought round a tape of John Williams playing a piece by Nikita Koshkin, a Russian composer, called Usher Waltz, based on the Fall of the House of Usher, the book by Edgar Allan Poe. And he goes, "Can you play this then?" Because he was really just like a competitive guy, and I was like, "Well, go on, play it to me." It was John Williams, classical guitar player, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I've got to do this. I've got to do it. Then I watched the Seville concert by John Williams. That was it. I was just gone. So it was classical guitar every single day.
That really, I suppose, again, we're coming at this as sort of two different humans, and I never had that obsessive streak in me. Yeah. So I think I was probably much more impressionable and would just go with the flow.
Yeah.
The idea of being 22, 23 years old in the early 90s, and the sort of lifestyle, and the peer pressure from friends and society to sort of conform into like what's cool.
Yeah.
It's not John Williams.
No, it's not John Williams.
So again, I think this is I'll get the couch out in a minute. You can lay down and we'll sort of do the
full therapy session.
So it's interesting, isn't it? I think this obsession for the guitar has transcended any sense that you need to conform to be cool for other people around you, because you're just going where you're pulled.
That's
towards this thing.
That's right. And I don't even know what that thing is. It's just like an insatiable sort of thirst for knowledge and the love of music, combined.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's the
a duality thing
rather than the guitar.
It's a music-based thing, but also at the same time, because I always think of life as being like a duality, because you've got the scientific experience, the scientific explanation of the way things, the way that the universe works, but you've got your experience of it through your own eyes, through your body, everything. But they are juxtaposed together and they are interdependent in some respects. So it's quite tough to have one without the other. But I kind of veer towards the personal feeling side rather than the scientific thing. But I think it's important to embrace both of those things.
So are you? I mentioned beforehand, I've been feeling for the last year or two like I'm emotionally, intellectually, whatever, maturity, ready to do a classical music dive that I've never felt like I've wanted to do. What's the where would you go? Like if somebody sort of said, take, because I do you just put Radio 3 on and have a listen for a few weeks, or is there some music that you think, this is, because I'm not sure that I really want to do the sort of whole Vivaldi Four Seasons. It all feels a bit cliche to me. I think I want to go somewhere
else.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Depends what you like. Do you like choral music? Do you like piano music? Do you like symphonic music?
I think maybe sort of less is more, like piano or string quartet sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I love the noise a cello makes. I think it's probably my favourite sounding,
Yeah,
other than
it's
high
beautiful.
gain pitch squeal guitar, which is obviously the best.
It is, of course.
But no, I just think acoustically, I think there's something that the noise the cello makes that
It's
just
beautiful.
resonates.
It's beautiful.
So what should I? Where would you? Who are the great like for you? Who were the composers that you maybe still go back to?
Bach straight away.
Right.
You know, I've been listening to him for a long time. I would say it goes back, 30 years. So I've been listening to his music for 30 years at least. I've got favourite works by him: the Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 1, Book 2, brilliant. And the English suites, the French suites, but pretty much, the passions that he wrote as well are pretty incredible. Wir setzen uns mit Tränen nieder, which is the last piece of St. Matthew's Passion. And it's mind-blowing. I love that. So, but, there's so much of his work, you can't go... You'd have to spend your entire life going, devoting yourself to listening to everything. And
Right.
So you've got to, I think it's just to, dip your toe in and see if you like it, because not everybody does. He has a specific way of dealing with his approach to composition, which is rhythmically quite strict. Although he was influenced by a lot of rhythms that were around throughout Europe at that time. But if you listen to Bach a lot, it's all consistent rhythms, Not always, but a lot of, especially his works that have been transcribed,
Could you? I'm interested. Could you give me some sort of playing example of how a piece that you might have been inspired, a piece that inspired by Bach or something you heard John Williams playing, whatever, that you've incorporated into something that's maybe a little bit more contemporary? I'm sort of like, if I think of all the great, rock shreddy guitar players, fundamentally you're just playing blues with more distortion and faster.
I know.
But I know I've oversimplified it like that, but I guess if you're talking about a guitar player with perhaps a neoclassical kind of influence, and everyone will immediately think of Yngwie and probably yourself. How does it differ? Like, what are you conscious of approaching? Because
absolutely. The way that one thing that's affected me is that I approach everything as in terms of like choral stuff.
Okay.
So if I've got 3 notes like that, okay, instead of thinking that's an E chord, right, I'll take 3 notes. That means I've got 3 singers there.
Right.
So 3 people. So if I do, you've got, or whatever I played. You know what I mean? That was it. That was the chord. So I approach it very, very like a choir. Am I making sense here?
You were, again, just before we started chatting, you talked about ear training, and I asked you what do you mean by that, and very, very concisely you just said it was largely listening to lots of music and hearing the harmonies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose we're fundamentally going, so I would, if you said to me, right, we're playing here and we're going to do a little lead line in the key of E, I'm probably thinking of major and minor scales, but more likely I'm thinking of shapes, just because that's how
it's
I've
a
learned.
guitaristic trait.
Yeah, but you're thinking of harmonies.
Yes, absolutely. Just to give you another example.
So go on.
Right, if I just play these 3 notes, what harmony does that imply?
I'm not.
No idea.
What harmony?
What could it be? What could it be?
So you're just playing a B note.
I'm playing a B note, but what if I put the bass in? You've got a 5 chord to 1, but it's just da, da, da. What if I did this? Da, da, da. That, sorry. Da, da, da. And play it like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it forces you to stop thinking from a guitaristic perspective and just start concentrating on the voices and treating them as music, not finger movements. You know, how else could I do that? Same chord progression. You know what I mean?
So you've trained your ear now and your fingers, I suppose, to the point you're hearing that before you've played it, or you're discovering it as you play it, or a combination. I suppose it can't be the latter, really, can it? It's got to be. You've got to know.
This is where the duality side of it comes in. Is that you have to do technical work in order to express yourself openly in the moment. So you need. This is what I'm learning about music, and it's not just music; it's life. You know, they're both obviously connected.
Yeah.
You know. That's pretty much the way that I approach it. So what was the question again? I've forgotten.
I think it was more around, again, just how that classical influence has changed how you might approach playing over it. Because, you know, realistically, if you're going to play, you know, I feel like I'm not informed enough maybe to lead this interview in the way that, this is why I need Rick Beato to jump in and ask you these questions. But if you had a song and, you know, at the end of the day, you got the same set of chords, whether you're writing a blues song or a rock song or a pop song. But, you know, and often I think you've got many of those, you know, sort of, many of those kind of, the way chords go together are the same regardless of the genre.
Yeah.
But so if you had a 3 or 4 chord tune and it was a recognized, you know, something recognizable pop rock type thing.
Yeah.
But someone said, "Go on, can you put the solo over the top of this, please?"
Yeah.
You would, regardless of the fact that you can play faster than I can, you just wouldn't play what I would play. You would have a different influence there, and it would be.
It is. This is really. I love this kind of you know, sort of deep dive into stuff, because I have to think about it as well, and because I've done a lot of guest solos for people. I did one for Pliny, who I believe was here yesterday.
Yes, Pliny was here yesterday.
Yes, good old Pliny.
The stool is probably still warm from his butt cheeks that were there.
It feels quite warm. But I've done a lot of guest solos. Did one for Polyphia, did one for Jason Richardson, who I believe was down here.
Yes, he's rapid.
Yeah, he's pretty quick. But I've done a bunch of, you know, solos. I did one for Andy James. That was before he joined Five Finger Death Punch, and I'm so chuffed about that. I'm just so happy about it.
It's a great break, that one.
It's brilliant. And every single one of them, I have the same approach, which is when I get sent the track, you know, what I'll do is I'll sit there probably for about a week, not with the guitar in my hand, and just listen to it and just imagine what I think would fit over it. And then after about a week, I would just start trying things, and usually it would work out, you know, pretty well and come quickly, you know. So that's kind of my approach to it, you know what I mean? But the key point that I'm making here is that the music dictates what you play. It has to, because otherwise, if you're going, I've got to stick this flash lick in there, that's not serving the music. You know, virtuosity is only useful when serving a musical purpose, really.
That lesson, that piece of advice is something that I can honestly say I've only really consciously began to incorporate into my playing in the last year or two.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and I'm sure many guitar players will relate to this, find the key, noodle, play the scales.
Yeah.
And actually, I was talking to someone yesterday about this, it being okay to not play anything for 2 or 3 seconds over a piece of music, which in the moment feels like eternity. And then when you listen back to it, feels like a really tasteful pause in your
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But, so taking this back to the classical thing, did the classical thing really, really teach you that, like, listen to the music before, as opposed, because I suppose in fairness, a lot of shred guitar by some very talented guitar players is actually just shred, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And not necessarily, I think if everybody goes back and picks out all the best pieces of guitar that have been played over a song, I'm not putting, again, I guess personally, they're all where it just took the song and it added something to it, to some sort of crescendo or emotion or whatever it was. So it's so important that the solo, and it doesn't have to be a fast solo. David Gilmour is one of the most amazing examples of just playing beautiful guitar parts.
Absolutely.
But it could be a fast solo. Paul Gilbert on some of the Racer X stuff, it's like it's like a wicked. It works.
Yeah, it works.
Technically lunatic, but someone has obviously taken the time to go, what does the music want?
Exactly. That's the key. Is that if you're overthinking things and too conscious about, I've got to make sure I stick this in here because that will, appease a lot of people if they listen to it. You're on the wrong track. Because you're doing a disservice to the music that you've been presented with.
Yeah.
So you've got to listen to the music, and you've got to do what's right for the music, and that could be, like you say, Paul Gilbert, tear your face off stuff, or it could be something like Dave Gilmour or Derek Trucks, for instance. Absolutely incredible, but it's got to be right for the music, because otherwise, what's the point? What is the point?
So I love how these interviews go off, but I'm going to try. I will always try and bring it back to a timeline.
Always bring it back.
I'm still seeing Rick Graham here now in his mid-20s. I think we're up to mid-20s. Still feeling like you haven't really consciously made a decision that this is a career choice for you yet. How are you putting food on the table, paying rent? What's the?
Well, at that time, financially, my dad was supporting us. So I didn't have anything coming in. I started doing teaching.
Okay.
So I had some students that that would come, and I would teach them, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed sharing stuff with them because I had a bunch of students, but I also taught some young kids, and that was not easy. I had one kid come once, and I was sat there and I just explained the mechanics of the guitar. This is the the headstock, these are the tuning pegs, this is the neck and everything, and what you do is you play the guitar like this. And he goes, "Oh, is that how you make the sound then?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "By pressing those buttons there." And I'm like, shit, I'm not sure how I'm going to explain this.
And then Guitar Hero made a whole game where that's exactly. So there you go.
So maybe he was
the inventor of Guitar Hero.
Maybe he was the guy.
He's made millions out of
He's made millions, and I'm sat here going, oh, God.
So what's the objective then? I'm still struggling.
Intrigued.
I'm still like, I think most people by the time they're in their mid-20s have got some sort of idea of like where they might want to go.
I had no idea.
Like,
However,
is it just write an album and that's it?
I was writing all the time, right from the word go. I wrote loads of stuff with my brother. We used to do stuff all the time, write songs together and do harmonies and everything. So, we wrote a lot of songs, a lot of material. He was always there, either producing or, You know, we were, you know, sharing stuff together. But I did it out the enjoyment for it rather than actually, you know, a particular sort of outcome, you know. So, you know, there was no real objective there other than just the joy of loving what I was doing. So, however, it got to the point where when I started classical guitar, I thought, I do have to take this a little bit more seriously. So that's when I learned how to read music. I taught myself how to read music. And then I went and did A-level music, 2 years at college, and then went to Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London.
Right.
Which is one of the best music schools.
Yeah.
But you know, I didn't feel comfortable there.
Right.
So I think maybe it's a social anxiety thing. I don't know. I just didn't feel. But I learned so much. It was just a great place to be. You know, musically, because there was so much going on, and also I was on stage playing all the time. You know. So that was a great experience. So I actually thought I'm going to be a classical guitar performer. That's my role in life. Yeah. But then I left there and realised, no, I love rock too much. So I ended up, you know, leaving there and going back to playing rock stuff, and then, you know, just discovered, because around about that time, you know, all the digital, you know, home recorders started to come out, like the Roland, what was it that we had?
VS880.
VS880.
Yes.
Holy, that takes me back. We had one of those, and I had a Yamaha AW16G as well, and I did a lot of stuff on using that. What else? I used to know
Daniel Bedingfield.
Oh, of course,
he made the VS880 famous, I think, because that was that absolute smash album that he had.
Yeah, the one
it was like the whole thing done in his flat, basically on
Daniel Bedingfield.
Yeah, I honestly, yeah.
He did that on a VS880.
I'm sure that was the
where it started.
As in, that was the whole album was done on one of those very early digital multi-tracks.
Yeah.
The whole thing in his flat changed the whole way, you know, people approached making albums, and really started that sense of like, you could just do it all yourself. I didn't know
that.
I've probably got that all wrong. Hey Daniel, if you're watching, feel free to comment. Tell me that's not what happened.
Absolutely. But if that is true, I love that, you know, because it just shows that, you know, gear is very, very important, because it allows you to create and craft your sound. So you have to, you know, have gear that inspires you. You have to. But also, you know, you have to also realise that it's about what you do with your creativity to bring the best out of that, you know. So it's a combination of both things.
So where are the... I feel like, you know, this is the sort of the Rick Graham guitar playing ship is sort of, you know, it's sailing through the ocean, but it hasn't really decided where it wants to go still. You know, it's obviously a good ship, you know, but was it when something like MySpace or YouTube came along that all of a sudden you thought to yourself, okay, maybe here's an avenue that I can start to make a bit of a living out of?
I started YouTube when because YouTube started in 2005. Yeah. So I had a channel in 2006 that I uploaded to, and I did a bunch of John Petrucci solos, and I moved to France.
Okay.
In 2006, and when I moved there, I thought, this is taking up too much of my time, and you know, I'm concentrating on, you know, looking at what's going on. I need to get back to playing rather than looking at a computer screen. So I took that initial channel down, but I kept all the videos. So in 2007, I opened up another, you know, created another channel, and just uploaded video after video after video. So there's loads of old stuff. So I've been doing the YouTube thing for a while. Did MySpace, met some great people through that. I met one of the best places was the John Petrucci Forum, because that's where I met Plini, actually.
Okay.
When I say met, I mean
Yeah, yeah.
virtually.
Yeah.
So, and who else was there? Martin Miller.
Yeah, yeah. Great player.
Yeah, brilliant. Andy James, that's how we met, Petrucci Forum. But we played at the London Guitar Show together, and that's, that's when we met, in person. And there was a bunch of other players there, Tom Quayle, so yeah, just forged a lot of good friendships with people, and just playing experiences that kind of made me realise, well, YouTube is a really, really good place to be. But the way that it's going now is, because I had some health issues for a while, so I had to pull back. But I'm, doing so much better now. And I'm ready now to move on to the next stage of my life. So,
the thing I remember about seeing you on YouTube in the early days were two things, really. One was you were in unbelievably good shape, clearly.
Yeah, what's happened now? Jesus Christ.
I tell you.
What are you laughing at?
If you can keep it going into your 50s, you're doing super. No, you're like. But so obviously that was another part of your obsessive behaviour, I guess. Was
Absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
You took that very seriously.
Absolutely.
But as this is a guitar channel, let's talk about guitar. And again, perhaps this is a technique thing. I don't think I've ever seen anyone play guitar where their left hand feels like it's as economical as yours. So I want to say, at one level, it almost looks like your left hand isn't moving.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you listen to, clearly it is moving at pace.
Clearly.
Did you just almost? I know you didn't invent. I was going to say, did you invent that technique? But that's not the right word. You made that technique very much a thing that people would look at you and go, "Oh, he's that guy."
Yeah.
So what even is that technique, and how did you
transpire?
develop it? Yeah. Is it a classical thing?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
That's where it comes from.
Right.
There's a great exercise that you can do to determine how much pressure you're applying to the string. So when I learnt this, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm applying way too much, and I don't need to." So if you just take a regular note, I always go to a C note, always. But if you reverse it and you just play the string and just gradually push down softly until you get to the point where you're playing the note cleanly, but you're not pushing down too hard, that's a nice place to be. You can't play that way all the time, because it's just, you want to smash the hell out of the guitar, don't you? You want to, put your feeling into everything. But it's a good place to start, to keep everything uniform, and then you can adjust the velocity of everything around that level. So that enables you to really concentrate on making really controlled movements, controlling the tone, controlling the volume, and then you can really start controlling everything about your playing.
And if someone was interested in trying to sort of start practicing that themselves, is it as straightforward as just effectively playing your shapes and your scales, but just so consciously going, what's the lightest touch that you can do this?
Well, absolutely. Well, it forced me to, because the way that we negotiate scales is you either pick every single note. That's got a specific sound, right? But also there's the old sort of 80s approach to rock legato, which is pick, hammer, hammer, pick, hammer, hammer, pick. That. Yeah. But it's quite sort of fragmented sound, because a lot of players you can hear the pick when you go to the next string.
Yeah.
But if you do it just left hand only, sort of what I did was condense it down to 3 ways of practicing, which is number 1, pick every note. Number 2, rock style legato, because it's awesome. but the other one is left hand only. So everything's just left hand. But what you've got to do in order to control everything is you've got to stay relaxed, and you've got to breathe, because lots of players do not breathe. They go, and that's not going to help. It's not going to allow the natural flow of playing. So it's important to really breathe, relax, and get in tune with your whole personal environment. You know what I mean?
If you're just doing the pure legato technique, no picking at all, is it possible to incorporate that soft approach still with that? Or is there a certain amount of, you've got to be hitting the strings harder to...
Yeah, I mean, there is. You can control it dynamically. So, if you just take one note, for instance, you can take it really softly, or... So you can control it. True. You know what I mean? It's a really, really good question.
Have you got a preference? Like, if it's, as in of those three. So, okay, what's a Rick Graham kind of like? Where's your?
Well, I mean, the balance of everything.
Yeah, like where would you sort of, what would you just default play if you weren't sort of consciously thinking on an?
I would do. It's what I've boiled it down to, because I've been practicing this for years, and I realised that. Because, when we're talking about left hand only, that can involve two approaches, which is all hammers. So if you do, if you're ascending, you hammer on. But what about when you descend? Do you like that? That's where it becomes a little bit more awkward.
Yeah.
And it's not really conducive to allowing things to flow. Not for me anyway, for somebody else like Holdsworth maybe. But I am no Holdsworth. But what I've condensed it down to is that when I do legato playing, it's when I'm ascending, I'll concentrate on doing hammers with the left hand, but when I'm descending, I'll pull off. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's all pulled off, when you're descending.
I'm just looking at your right hand as well. Is there a little bit of hybrid picking in there as well?
There's totally a lot of hybrid picking.
Right.
So, and I think it does come from the classical thing, because it just feels really natural to do. You know what I mean? So I just love the feel of the strings. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean?
There's something... I probably can't speak with huge authority because I'm not a multi-instrumentalist, but there's something hyper tactile about the guitar that I don't think musicians who perhaps play a keyboard-based thing or even I'm not going to say like a wind instrument thing, because obviously your breath is a super tactile part of how the instrument is.
Yeah.
But there's something tactile. You're so in touch with what the note is going to do on a guitar.
Absolutely, if you do. Because I love doing these kind of movements where you're using the pick and the finger, but because I use the middle finger a lot. And I kind of practiced this for ages, which is this technique. So you go down, middle, up.
Right. So you get like a triplet kind of thing going on there.
And it just feels great, You can do it with picking, but for some reason I love the sound of that. You know what I mean?
It feels like, I don't think you're unusual in this sense, that I think guitar players in their earlier years of playing feel like the things to achieve are the jumping over the highest bar or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like later on, it's trying to achieve that softness of something. It feels like it almost feels perverse. It would almost be easier to just learn that bit first. Like learn the difference between picking hard and picking soft.
Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't seem to, does it? It seems that most guitar players will discover that. Because I guess it's not impressive.
It's not impressive. Wayne Krantz said that.
Right.
I don't like to call him a jazz player because he's not just a jazz player, he's a musician.
Yeah.
But he just said, I had to realise that, in order to really truly express myself, I would have to be less impressive for a while.
Do you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, profound thing to say, but it is
because it takes a lot of self-honesty.
Yeah.
And in order to learn, because otherwise, if you get to, a technical, pinnacle, where do you go from there? What do you do? But there's so much more to do. How about controlling dynamics? How about voice leading? How about perceiving every single note that you play as being a lot more than you think it is? And it forces your mind to.
I often find myself using art as a great analogy for what you just said, which is that if you can take a pencil and draw something to the point where I can't tell the difference between your drawing and a black and white photograph, that is technically lunatic level skill.
Yeah.
But if you can take if you can take a wonky brush and 3 bits of oil paint and just do a splodge that I go, wow, what is going on there? And I want to look at that, and I've probably understated the splodge.
No,
but go, that's interesting. And where's that? That for me is that next level.
It's the next level.
So it's not technically impressive, but there's emotion in there, and there's something, and that's where I think you're talking about with the music, just sort of going, how do you even learn that? It's just like it's a weird old.
It is, and it's an interesting,
and it could be rubbish as well.
Well,
it could be a splodge of like a 3-year-old.
Well, it could be, but if it says something to you, then it means something.
Yeah.
If somebody looks at it and goes, that's just a splodge, why should I care about that? Then that person doesn't get anything from it. But if you look at it and you're intrigued and you're moved by it,
there you go.
That's it. Just before you move on to the next bit, it's really important this, because if you look at the work of Picasso, for instance, if you look at his earlier work, it's technical perfection.
Right.
But you look at the later work, and it's just like,
hyper abstract, isn't it?
Absolutely mental. But, he went through that period of being technically perfect, but realised that was not. Because you can look at a photo. If you want to see a photographic, somebody capturing something in a photograph, you look at the photograph. And I love technical stuff, it's great, but I'd like to see a little bit more personality in it, and that's where you do the technique, but then you have to move on. So correlating that with what you were saying about it comes later, this intricacy of approach to technique and music. It's just the way that it works. It happens later, I think.
This next bit of the interview might be awkward for you, and feel free to say we'll edit this out and not talk about it, but it feels like the next major event in your life was you lost your brother.
Yeah.
And obviously that then spiraled into a period in your life where I guess you just didn't feel you wanted to do anything.
Yeah.
So without necessarily going into anything, how, you and I have been talking for the last year or two, and it feels like that's been the sort of start of that journey of just kind of going, I've got to try and get back to doing this thing that I love like that. But is there anything that how do you, if someone else is going through that, I don't know, is there any words of wisdom or comfort or?
Yeah, there is. I saw a brilliant interview. There are two people. One is Alex Van Halen, and he's talking about it. He saw an interview with Billy Bob Thornton, the actor, and his younger brother died just out the blue with a heart condition. And what he said in this video was, "I've learned to embrace the fact that I will never get over it. But once I realised that I embrace the fact that I will never get over it, that's helped me to get through it." Because there's a lot of emotions that are involved. You feel guilt because you feel as though you could have done something, and you feel confusion, you feel such loss about it. It's a brutal experience. But I think after now 10 and a half years, I'm actually realising that the more that I embrace the fact that I will never get over it, the easier it becomes. So now, yeah, I always have my moments. I always will. But now I can talk about him like in this interview with you, and just be happy about the fact that that he was alive once and inspired me, and that I wouldn't be playing the guitar the way that I do without him. So people, when they watch me play and all the rest of it and hear me talk about things, he's always there, because he's somehow permanently involved with the way that I express myself. So I think that's really, really important, because Alex Van Halen said after losing Eddie Van Halen, he just said, I'd rather just stay at home rather than being at a grocery store and break down in tears. I'd rather do it at home. But he learned, he's learning that it's grief. People grieve in different ways. They deal with it in different ways, and it's part of life. So I'm slowly coming to the realization of what the blues means.
And that was going to be my next question, really, was how did the guitar go from, I don't know, I guess it's a combination of it's an embodiment of a memory of something that you've shared with your brother, but also presumably a fantastic some solace in just like feeling like you can let those emotions out through a musical instrument.
Absolutely, that's it. That's really, really good, because that's, I think, what a lot of people miss is that in the early stages, a lot of players concentrate just on the technical aspects and just go, I've got to get it technically right, I've got to look good, I've got to play it really, really well so that I look cool and everything, or just for whatever reason. But one thing that takes time is understanding that when you play a note, where is that note coming from, and why is it that you're playing it the way that you do? So that's what it has given me, is when I play anything on the guitar now, it doesn't always work out because we're human after all. But when I play it, I've got to be sincere about everything that I do. So I've got to mean it, So that's the message that I would say to people. Just try and concentrate on that, because that's when you really, really connect. That's why all of these great guitar players have come along. They're all different. They've all got different techniques, different technical ability. But there's something, they have something in common, and that is, I believe, it's emotional and musical depth. And that can only come with life experience, I think.
I think every great song, every enduring song, endures because of some
absolutely
rooted, emotion, don't they, or sentiment.
Absolutely. It's why my brother and I learned every Beatles song that we could, and we did the harmonies and everything. And even now, I'm, when I listen to the Beatles, I'm still learning something new.
We talked about, didn't we, just this idea of just how do you consume new music, and there's so much music to consume, and in fact, you even said yourself you could spend your life doing the Bach journey. You could spend your life doing the Beatles journey.
Yeah, you could.
It's just like, it's so deep. There's so many, you know, and again, I half of me just thinks, have you ever been asked the time machine question? Like, just where would you go back to? And I suppose if I just do this, if we do it entirely musically, because otherwise it's basically, I'm sure we'd all want to see dinosaurs or whatever, family members, whoever. But musically, the time machine thing for me is that sort of 1965 through to 1970 of just where like the Beatles had an entire career that most bands will never, ever, 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 ever eclipse in like hardly any time at all.
Unbelievable.
Jimi
We were
Hendrix
talking
came
about it,
along,
weren't we?
you know.
So it's just an unbelievable time, you know.
Yeah.
If you think, when did they hit? It was about 62, wasn't it?
Yeah, or maybe it's just maybe 62, 64,
62, because they
yeah.
sacked Pete Best.
That's right. 64 was when the American thing, wasn't it? The sort of the
Shea Stadium and all that.
who was the show, the chat show that they?
Oh, Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Taylor. But you know, it's that sort of
that time.
Boom, and then like 7-8 years later, they've split up, and you go, how does that work?
But yeah, exactly. And if you go from like the early recordings, like I Want to Hold Your Hand, which I love because it's got electric harmony in it.
Yeah,
it's just incredible. And then you go, you know, to something right at the end, and you're just like, 7 years?
I think it was, yeah.
How
It's
did they
like,
do that
it's
within 7 years?
How do you go from, you know, I Want to Hold Your Hand through to like the Sergeant Pepper's stuff and then Beyond Revolver?
Unbelievable.
And it's just like, wow.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
They had, of course, George Martin there.
Yeah.
And he was at the same music school as I was, actually. Guildhall
Really?
School of Music and Drama.
Wow.
So I can't profess to be anywhere near his level, but yeah, you know, it's important to have. I think you can't really do everything on your own. You've got to have a team of people that you trust, that you know that will allow you to really, really shine.
So would that be your time machine moment? Just go back and spend a bit of time in the sort of mid '60s, or do you think there's another musical kind of event that?
Well, that'd be a nice place to go, just to just to see. But I would definitely. I'd just like to hang out with Bach for a bit. And just,
right.
You know, just
Nice.
to go back. I would probably go back to, because when was he born?
Like 1700 then or something.
1685 to 1750. So I would probably go to, because he had a really tough time. You know, he lost both of his parents before. His mum first at 9, then his dad at 10. Then he went and walked 250 miles to go and study with an organist. And when he came back, his wife was dead and already been buried. You know, it's just like, no wonder he went nuts at, you know, writing, because it took his mind away from the pain of stuff. Right. So I would probably go, you know, somewhere around the 1720s, because it also was a contemporary of another. He had a contemporary, Scarlatti, who I absolutely love.
That sounds more like an Italian.
Yeah, absolutely Italian. But
I don't know. I've not heard of him.
Yeah, he was just absolutely incredible. But they both respected each other, you know. So 1720, I could sort of talk to Bach and, you know, just go.
Well, I mean, you want to talk to someone that understood harmonies. I think anybody that can sit down with a piece of paper and write a piece of music for 50 different instruments.
Unreal.
It's like, you know, forget logic or any other.
Forget any of that.
It's just a piece of paper.
It's a piece of paper. So he had to bring it out of his mind. Obviously, he had the harpsichord there to create everything. But he used to do the cantatas, you know. But he did one every week. So his work week from Monday was creating the music, writing it down for all the instruments. Then by Friday, they'd do a dress rehearsal and stuff. Then on the Sunday, they'd perform it in church. And then Monday, he'd have to do another one. That's that.
Okay, I'll take it back. So
blows my mind. Blows my mind.
That's just another level, isn't it?
It's not. It's just you know, I wouldn't ever be anywhere near that level. But you have to accept that sometimes,
but you say that.
Well,
Just it's only that you just don't know, do you? I'm not even sure anyone. We're supposed to be. We're supposed to be going to see Jacob Collier at some point to talk about music and stuff. So he's probably the closest I'll ever get to talking to someone whose brain might function in that.
Yeah.
But I do you say that? I wonder. What a pressure. Just start like, what do you do for a living? Well, Monday morning I have a Cocoa Pops for breakfast. And then I write a piece of music for a 50-piece orchestra that we've got to play on Sunday.
I know, it's mental. It's mental. And they were, it was a really tough thing for him, but he just got on with it because he had to. And it's, I think McCartney said, music is the best tonic. It's the best thing to take you away from some of the negativity of life, so adversity does make you stronger if you twist it round, flip it on the other side and use it for what it is.
Well, look, I feel like we've kind of brought ourselves up now in this sort of timeline to within the last 3 or 4 years or so. So it feels like sort of life for you is getting back out there, writing more, collaborating more.
Yeah, got a podcast coming out with my good friend Ben
Travers.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of stuff on Instagram. You must be posting sort of clips of stuff of that.
Yeah.
He's a player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. So we've got that. We've filmed all of the podcasts, so it's just a matter of the media guy, finishing everything up and then putting it out. So we got that. I'm going to be working on an album with him, and we're going to get out there.
But that's the plan, is it? So you try and utilise social media to promote podcasts and stuff, but ultimately it's write music, release albums,
absolutely,
play shows.
Absolutely, that's it. I want to go back to being on stage again. Because for a long time, because I was, quite ill for some time, and it's only now that I'm feeling much, much better and ready to tackle everything and just get out there and play. So I've got, not just that, I've got my own project that I'm working on, which is a collection of preludes that I'm writing, but it's in a specific order.
Right.
So, which is influenced by Frédéric Chopin, actually.
Okay.
So they're all... they move in the dominant direction, so it starts off in E and then goes a fifth higher, and then back to the relative minor, then a fifth higher than that, and then it goes full circle and comes back round.
You compose all that on the guitar, on the electric
all
guitar?
Finger style on the electric, not the acoustic. It's all electric. So I'm compiling those things now. So so I'm really excited about doing that. But, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. But it takes... who was I watching? Satch was saying, sometimes I, write stuff really quickly. Other tunes have taken me 15 years to finish. So time, we'll figure it out.
I mean, look, I think but you're a very modest chap. You know how many unbelievably successful and amazing guitar players still talk about you as like the guy they want to hear, like, what's he up to next, what's he doing, look at this. So I'm convinced everyone will be super excited to hear about what the new music does, and perhaps some of the preludes that you're doing. It will be, and me included, so that's
Thanks
exciting.
Thanks a lot.
We got there in the end, Charvel. We should probably talk about
there
your
at the
guitar.
end. Yeah.
As we sort of come, so you've got yourself into a physical and mental state where, right, let's do this. So the next thing was better get some tools to go and do this with. Tell us about how the Charvel came around then, as I assume this is going to be your main axe for the foreseeable.
Absolutely. Well, the Charvel thing came around because I went to New York in 2019. And I hung out with a few musicians. I went to hung out with Nare Sol. She's an amazing pianist.
Okay.
And hung out with her for a bit. And hung out with Angel Vivaldi.
Ah, bless him.
I did a guest solo for a band as well at that time, so I went to their studio, and Angel came round and just said, "Right, you're staying with me for a few days."
That wooden Andertons, basically, I think it's something that you use to slap someone's buttocks. That was the gift that Angel bought us the last time he was over. Yes. As anyone who knows Angel will go, not surprised about that.
Not surprised at all. He's just amazing. So he's just got a great sense of humour.
Yeah.
But he's a lovely guy with a big heart as well at the same
Super
time.
guitar player.
Oh, absolutely. So I hung out with him and we spent some quality time just jamming and stuff, and that's when he said,
of course, he's a Charvel.
He's a Charvel guy.
Yeah.
And he said, "Have you ever thought about Charvel?" And I was like, no, but yeah, I'm interested because I've always been a Strat guy at heart. I've always played Strats and always loved Strats, so I just thought that would be a logical move, And when I got back, he put me in touch with Mike, the artist relations guy in America, and he arranged to get some guitars sent out. Then he said, "Do you want to, have a signature guitar?" And I'm like, "Let me think. Can I have a bit of time to think about it?" I've thought about it, yes. So that was the first iteration that came out in 2021. So it was just after COVID, so it was kind of like a strange time, for everybody then. So it was down to Angel that this, this has happened. But I've been in touch with a lot of people that have really, really pushed me to do it. So this particular one, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and they asked me. A couple of the guys from Charvel said, "Well, what do you want for this one?" And so we had made a few different changes. Reverse headstock, that is a nod to a particular guitar player.
A particular left-handed one, you mean? Or
no,
a different one.
No, it's a nod to who's that guy that wrote More Than Words?
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, I can't remember his name now.
Can't remember his name.
It's,
that's
Nino something.
Yeah. Oh no. But yeah, that's a bit of a because
fair enough.
He's one of my favourite all-time players. But,
yeah.
We made a few things. They said, "Do you want a relic job?" So I was just like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I've always loved shell pink.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
So went for that and just made a few changes. Pickups are slightly different to the first iteration. These are like Charvel, in-house stuff, but they sound amazing. They really, really work great. And this particular guitar is at a bit more of a manageable price point for people.
Yeah.
It falls really nicely, but there is no reduction in quality.
So the Charvel stuff for me, the two things actually I think with the Charvel. First and foremost, I think it embodies what a Super Strat should be more than any other brand. Because as much as I love Ibanez and Jackson and ESP and all those they've moved further away from the Fender Strat thing into their own vibe of a thing. Whereas for me, I think Charvel just takes that I can imagine myself in 1980 in my sort of rock shred band with my big hair going, this 70s Strat that I've got just isn't doing it. I'm going to take it somewhere and they're going to flatten the fretboard and put a humbucker in it. And I sort of feel like that's what Charvel is, which is great.
Absolutely. It caters for my need perfectly, because, I love Strats. And I love the fact that, because Beato sent me a message saying, "What's the radius on your Strat, that particular Strat that you play?" And it was like 7 1/4.
Really?
And, but I just love having some kind of resistance at times because it forces me to play differently, and then I get used to it. But this compound radius on here, it works great for the chordal stuff, but as you move up, it's
I'm assuming this is not a 7 1/4 range.
It's not. No. And that it just feels really, really good. It's and it looks great.
You've put some miles on that fretboard already, haven't you? It's like they don't go that colour just by looking at it. That's for sure. No, that's. I mean,
So
I think it's
I'm
a great
really
looking guitar.
chuffed that this is out, because this is the next stage in what it is that I'm doing. So I just, I'm so happy that this has come to fruition, and I just want to get up on stage and play again.
Well, man, I cannot wait for that. And can I also just say as well, thank you so much. I know the guys at Victory, or
Yeah,
been
brilliant.
trying to get you playing these amps, and there's
Yeah.
I'll probably get shot for saying this, but there might be something in the pipeline that might be a bit more portable version of this, a bit more affordable, but I'm not allowed to say anything about that.
Not allowed
even
to
though I
say
just did.
anything.
But I'm sure things like that will appeal. But look, I mean, would you mind if I feel like we've done a lot of really beautiful, sort of tasteful, clean stuff so far. Would you mind just doing something a bit more gratuitous towards the end?
I can
just
try.
Sort of,
I can try. That sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Where's the pick squeal? Come on, we needed one.
Oh, the pick squeal.
I'll dig out a Zoom 9002 from somewhere. We'll reminisce. Anyway, look, Rick, it's been a pleasure and an honour.
Thank you so
having
much,
you
man.
on.
Thank you
for answering all the questions so wonderfully.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, and good luck. And I think now it's lunchtime, judging by how much both of our stomachs have been rumbling for the
I
last
know,
hour or
mine's
so.
gone mental.
Yeah, I think
Just
we should
like
go and eat.
Growling. Thanks a lot, mate.
No worries. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you in another video soon.